So I'm here again with Simon Clark, and in this video, we're going to continue to look at the top cyber threats in 2022. Last time we spoke, Simon, you talked to us about phishing, a common threat in the category of email. Today, I'd like to explore another threat that you mentioned in that category, which is ransomware. Now, ransomware, let me just kick this off. In simple terms, what is ransomware?
Well, ransomware is what the hackers try and infect you with so that they can earn money. And it does two main things. Number one, it's going to try and encrypt your systems so that you can't use your machines. And number two, they're going to try and steal data. And they'll use that data for two things. One is to either sell it or to charge you money to give it back to you.
Okay, so how does ransomware actually impact a business?
Oh, well, the impact can be really quite painful. We've seen demands last year of $50 million on some insurance companies and banks. The more well-publicized one that people may remember is the Colonial Pipeline, which they paid about $4 million to some hackers. But the impact was even bigger than that because they locked up all their systems. No oil was getting transported up and down the east coast of the US. So it impacted a whole stack of other businesses, which of course then affects their brand reputation and sales and everything else. In fact, and the other impact can be is regulatory fines. So if the regulator discovers that their security measures aren't good enough, they can charge them huge fines. In the UK with GDPR, you can be fined up to £17.5 million or 4% of your annual revenues.
Wow. So there is legislation like GDPR that can affect a company as a result of ransomware attacks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Now I heard you talk earlier on about something called the dark web. What is this and how's it being used when it comes to ransomware?
Well, the dark web is the illegal part of the internet. It's where the criminals can go and be relatively hidden from the legal side of the law. And what they do is when they steal data, depending on whether if they don't want to use it, they will go out to the dark web and try and sell it in the dark web. So, for example, a credit card. A UK credit card is worth about £11 or £12. So that if you imagine they managed to steal 20,000 credit cards from a company's database, particularly if they're a transactional company, so they could easily have over 20,000 credit cards on their system, that's a really good payoff for the criminals because they're now getting 20,000, that's over £200,000. If you take a PayPal account, if they can hack a PayPal account, and sell that on the dark web, that's worth about 10 times the amount. So that's one area that they're trying to, they use the dark web for. They also use the dark web for selling hacker tools and basically sharing experiences of how they've managed to hack other companies and software.
So really, you're saying that they're quite social animals in the dark web. They're literally sitting there talking to each other, saying, "Hey, here's something I've done. Would you like to do it too?"
I think there's a bit of ego involved.
Oh, good grief! So what can be some of the logical lines of protection that our listeners can utilize to stop ransomware? Are there simple tools out there?
Yes. So, the controls are many and varied. You can start with staff training because let's face it, most ransomware comes to you through phish. That's 83% of your 83% of threats coming in with ransomware are through phish. And so staff training, they're your first point of call. If you can train staff to kind of just be a little bit more aware of this type of threat, then you can significantly reduce the number of threats, ransomware that gets into your system. The second thing is patch management. So patch management is where you've got weaknesses in things like Microsoft and Apple and the applications that you're running. That's why all these companies keep sending you updates. It's not just to improve their product, it's to lock up all those little vulnerabilities that the hackers have actually discovered. So have a good patch management process in your organization, which also involves scanning your systems to see if you've got unpatched software, but also good website security. So most ransomware relies on, once it's got deposited in your system, it relies on being able to access the criminal's server to be able to make that ransomware work. So if you can block your network from being able to access those malicious sites, that's another layer that you've put in to stop the ransomware being successful. The last thing I would suggest is putting in layers of automation, and that can be as simple as having an outsourced security operations center, what we call a SOC. And if they discover something bad going on, they can actually isolate that machine from the rest of the network to stop that ransomware from what we call traveling laterally through your network and infecting other machines.
Come on, Simon, this all sounds really sophisticated, really expensive. Is this just the domain of the large organizations, or are there other solutions that small, medium-sized enterprises can come and gain access to?
Well, I think the important thing is there's no silver bullet. So you could spend hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds on every single tool, and you could still get attacked. So there's no silver bullet, but each organization needs to look at the risk that they are threatened by. What's the impact to them of a successful ransomware attack, and then put in tools that are appropriate to their organization and their appetite for risk, I suppose. But it doesn't need to be expensive to get a good level of protection.
Oh, awesome. Not expensive always works for me, but it's knowing that you've got partners around that, like Fortinet UK, that can actually help you implement a solution at an affordable price. So, Simon, if people want to get hold of you, how can they get hold of you and Fortinet UK?
Easiest way to contact us, visit our website, www.fortnet.co.uk. Go to our contacts page. There's an email address there. There's a phone number there. Or if you wish to book a complimentary discovery discussion with us, you can go to Calendly on that page and just book a slot that suits you in your diary.
Fantastic. Looking forward to catching up with you again in the not too distant future. Bye for now.
Thanks, Ellie. Yeah.